Welcome to today's event where we have the pleasure to present Realfiction. So it was true. Today's presentation, we have a very strong lineup, CEO Claes Dyrholm and CFO Torben Ockels. Torben, you will move out of and leave Claes to do the presentation, but you are here for the Q&A session. So we also covered on the financial and legal stuff. Today's presentation, it is a company introduction. It will be a little bit broad through the questions. We will be a little bit more specifically. And yeah, I think you also have some experience you want to share from the CES. So that's kind of the subjects for today. As always, you're very welcome to ask questions in the box down below. Do it in Swedish, Danish, English. I will translate to the best of my ability. We already have a lot of questions in advance. I will also try and put them together in some groups and subjects. Sorry for that, because today is very, very busy with all the questions and introduction. But do feel free to ask, and we will see if we will catch it. But for now, I think I'll hand the word over to you, Claes.
Thank you. We're happy to be here. And I'm happy to be back from Las Vegas just a few days ago. And I'll share, of course, as you said, a bit about that on the way. But Realfiction, we are firm believers in 3D, basically. We live in 3D, we learn, we play in 3D. So we think it's very natural that we inevitably will be looking at screens in 3D as well. Just a matter of the right technology. We founded Realfiction in 2008, and throughout the first 11 years, we invented and marketed different holographic display solutions, mainly being used for retail marketing and event purposes, which is today sustaining our further technology development with a basic, not impressive, but basic revenue that provides a positive lift to our technology development. My co-founder Peter and I are heavily invested with everything we have in Realfiction through our common holding company, Clape Holding, which owns about 15%. One other owner I will mention is Amtran Technology, a large OEM manufacturer based in Taiwan. They produce more than 7 million TVs a year, plus gaming monitors and hi-fi products, and are very supportive in this technology venture as well. In Realfiction, we have 15 employees. Most are employed here in Denmark, but we do have a few Taiwanese engineers based out of Taipei in Taiwan as well. The NASDAQ listing gave us the opportunity to then push forward and be more ambitious on our technology. And therefore, in 2019, we founded the technology development project, which we called Project Echo. The intention with this project, and I will now demonstrate this in a video as well, is to enable flat panel displays to show 3D for multiple people at a time, allowing also each person to see their own individual perspective on 3D, enabling what is known as look around ability, where any person can move around and see objects in full 3D. And that provides a very immersive and almost holographic-like experience. But it needs to be multiple users, great quality, and allow individual perspectives. And nobody is really able to do that currently in the industry, but they are trying to get there, because all throughout the years, TVs has been sold on new features, and 3D is the one they're looking to next. So Project Echo has been a development project throughout the last few years. We have achieved a lot through those years, reaching a point where we now have available technology ready that we demonstrated just a few days ago at CES. And that technology now covers all the main display technologies, equaling LCD, OLED, and micro LED as well. So that's a really powerful lineup, which we were, applauded for as well by the meetings at CES. So a lot has happened throughout those few last years. If you see the graph behind the timeline, you will see a big peak in 2020, and maybe that's due to some investors jumping the gun a little too soon, maybe thinking that the commercial agreements would land very early. But any solid technology has a development project, but we are now ready and we're entering the commercialization phase now. So IP is fundamental in our business, and throughout those years we have been applying for a lot of different patents. Last year in 2023, we saw the first patents now being granted successfully, and more will follow in the near future and in time to come. So that's laying the solid basis for our future business and revenue. And I'm proud to say that today we stand on a very firm platform with a lot of IP, both originally developed IP, but also exclusively licensed supporting technologies. So we stand on firm ground there, and we are truly happy about that as well. So you might think, how can a small Nordic company come up with inventions that the big guys in Asia are trying to complete? Well, we're not alone. We have had some great collaboration partners. We have worked with big institutes in Germany and Belgium, Hong Kong University, some brilliant minds and some of the top engineers within OLED, display technology, and 3D overall. And Amtran, as I said, has been a big part in supporting and continually will support this project as well. But mainly, our own core team consists of proven experts and leaders that has done this many times already. Steen, the main inventor of the eco technology here, is the guy that IMAX called when they needed to create the latest lineup of laser 3D projectors for their cinemas. So he headed that whole project and successfully launched those products in the market before coming to our team in Realfiction. Fleming was the guy Bang & Olufsen turned to when they had the life crisis of going from CRT TVs to flat panel, and he successfully guided them through that. And for many years, he was personally responsible for all hi-fi and TV products in Bang & Olufsen, with a couple of hundred engineers and many simultaneous development projects. Torben, our CFO, he's a governmentally authorized public accountant. I tend to forget the whole pronunciation there. And former partner in Deloitte, so we are certainly in safe hands there. He's instrumental in our efforts to maximize the value out of every penny we have, but also making sure we follow all the rules. And he's a big part in our funding as well, of course, and also participate with his experience within soft funding. And then leading our Taiwan team, we have Richard, and he has many existing products under his belt in some of the largest tech companies out there. He's been working both on LCD and OLED and all the technologies already. So he's a great asset to the team as well. But what is the technology? How does it work? Well, we now launched it under the name Directional Pixel Technology, because the directional pixel actually does explain already maybe quite a lot of how it works. But overall, VR and AR has been driving content evolution and will be driving this over the next coming years towards 3D. Software and content will be more and more developed for 3D. All the panel makers know this and have begun to adapt 3D again on the displays. But due to the experience from the latest 3D TVs, everybody knows that it has to be glasses free, right? Nobody wants to sit at their work desk or in the living room wearing these 3D glasses. That's not going to work. Therefore, it is, of course, difficult to create a 3D image without the glasses. And as a result, the current products you see available commercially in the market is mainly or almost singularly single user. The only multiple products you see is within digital signage, where they can do some pop-out effect for multiple users, but that's not a viable way to go for the end product. For multi-user 3D, light field may be seen as the true theoretical real solution. The problem is that for a light field to show all potential angles of an image at all times and live generated, really needs a huge amount of data and power. And experts say this might be decades away if it's ever going to be really a viable way to do it. So this is where we come in. Directional pixels only direct individual images to those persons actually in front of the screen. So we can direct different images to each eye or to each user depending on whether it's 2D or 3D. And we can direct that precisely enough to create 3D. And that's what we demonstrated at CES as well. So directional pixels allow multiple users to either see the same 3D image, just as you do in the cinema where you watch Avatar or whatever in 3D, everybody sees the same image. You can do that home in the living room without the glasses. But it also does enable, as I say, individual look around real-time generated perspectives, and it allows for multiple users seeing different 2D images. Same technology, the same implementation, different use cases or features. So what does this technology provide in terms of advantages? Well, we do not have size limitations. We can do everything from small displays to very large displays. And this is also a current problem in the industry. Going large is difficult for the others. And very importantly, we do not sacrifice resolution with our technology. All others currently halven or even worse, they damage the resolution and other terms in terms of image quality. We don't sacrifice that in any way. That's a big evolution. And again, most importantly of all, multi-user. The big thing here, they're struggling creating multi-user, and nobody has the answer except of Lightfield to create individual 3D views. We then we are compatible with all existing 2D and 3D content. That's important to understand as well. But we also provide secondary features. I mentioned the dual view or multi-view where people can see different 2D images, but also privacy is a natural side benefit and feature in our technology. So looking at use cases, TV in terms of market size is the big one here, and the one that often drives the panel makers' interest in creating panel. TV, as I said, has always been sold on new features, going from black and white to color, going from CRT to flat panels, going from low resolution to high resolution, then adding smart TV. All those features have been selling TVs throughout the years. We have reached a stage now where the new TVs are only slightly better and people don't really see a need to change. So we see the overall sales of TVs dropping dramatically these years, and they know it. They know that they need to bring a new sort of disrupting technology, and they go to 3D for this. So you will see all the big ones trying and showing at CES and other places, showing prototypes of 3D, but struggling again with the multi-user and the overall resolution loss and all those things. Now, TV will remain relevant still because it's a social media platform where we enjoy movies, entertainment. We can enjoy social gaming, being together. We can see sports and do communication, whatever. All these use cases will benefit from the 3D being implemented. Other big segments are, of course, gaming, huge segment. They are implementing now as the first products single-user 3D monitors in gaming because the need is there, the wish is there, but still only single user, so nobody can really enjoy it together with you, and you're limited to a certain size in a single-user environment. Now, automotive, that's another big segment as well. Automotive is, of course, interested in 3D and going holographic, but really the dual view feature, allowing driver to see dedicated driver information and passengers to watch entertainment on the same screen, is the big need in automotive currently. So we saw at CES many switchable privacy mode screens being launched, and this is because the way they do it now is they have to implement a secondary entertainment screen to allow the front seat passenger to see entertainment, because The driver get distracted if they start seeing a football match or a movie, so they have to use a secondary screen, which can then not be seen by the driver, so it's blacked out. So the driver can have the main screen information like GPS and controls and so forth. And this is really just a temporary way to do it as we see it and as the big manufacturers see it. And I'm proud to say that we met with one of the chief engineers from one of the biggest brands out there. He was at CES looking specifically for a technology that can do dual view. That was his aim for CES because they want to do it. They will implement it. It's just a matter of the choice of technology. And all the existing efforts that has been made previously on dual view does lower quality. It halvens the resolution. It introduces other problems. And he knew that. So when he found us, he was ecstatic. And that's why we are now in deep conversation with them and others about this. So this is really a big mover where it's not just a gimmick and a cool feature, but a really need to have feature. There are, of course, other segments as well. So they might be one-off, much smaller, but combined, again, represent a big thing. So just mentioning a few: medical, where they're already using 3D monitors because they provide a big advantage when operating inside a body. But they have to wear the glasses because they have to be more than one person being able to see it. So they stand there for several hours sweating with these infamous 3D glasses on, and they would really love to get rid of those. So that's a big need from that industry. Another one, just to mention the last one, is remote collaboration. A lot of the big companies within communication really truly believes that 3Dification in the video meetings will help overcome Zoom fatigue and other sort of feelings that you are distant from each other, that you lose concentration, but because you're not really in the same room together. Many more segments are available. We cannot reach them all now. I'm just saying that we are now ready with a technology that can solve all those needs because we have those different features available, and we even solve those across the main panel technologies. So that's a really strong USP that again that we reap the benefits of at CES, and I'll come back to that a bit. So we are now entering the commercialization phase. We are now expanding on the dialogues. Some we have had already now, more are coming these days after CES. And just, we calculated 38 individual company meetings at CES in our private meeting suite. And it was just such a huge pleasure seeing these brilliant engineers from the biggest display panel makers out there standing there, looking at the body language. They were really contemplating how's this possible? How are you doing it? Trying to understand. And they're now booking more meetings with us because they really truly want to understand the full potential of our technology. So it is an exciting time, and I think you should judge us on whether we are able to land the first commercial agreements this year. That's certainly going to be our goal and ambition. Just to bridge the phase currently, we are in the midst of taking out a loan and expect to complete that in the near future, just to be sure that there's no stress on that part. And we don't want to dilute at this point because we're so close to breakthrough here. As I said, we are in dialogue with, and again, many different segments. So automotive really pushing, really aggressive at the moment because it's a need to, but also in many other segments we have ongoing NDA and also new ones coming in these days, NDA discussions on the specific products that they want to get out there. So really it's a question for us to see who's the right ones to go first, who of those will move first and will be first ready to sign. So that's going to be very interesting to see. Our business model is licensing. This means we will not be building manufacturing. We don't have to invest in creating huge factories and all that. We have license-ready technology across different segments, across different display technologies that are ready to be implemented in the existing manufacturing plans. So licensing means a combination of different revenue types. So one is typically when you sign an agreement, there's an upfront fee and a commitment fee. And then there is, of course, a royalty based element where we earn a bit of royalty on every product sold over the lifetime. And there may be others as well. So it's a combination of different revenue streams, some being front-loaded and some being recurring revenue over time that can then add and stack when you add new customers and into more segments. If we look at the addressable market here, TV, as I said, of course, is the big in terms of volume. So more than 250 million units sold last year of TVs. And interesting, more than 33 million of those were large size panels, being more than 65 inch. That's a big number of big screens, and typically new and also high-end features are implemented first in the high end. Therefore, I think it's interesting to see the high end here is still a huge number, right? If we're looking to automotive, then last year, center console screens larger than 10 inches sold more than 53 million pieces. And if you really think about dual view not being a cool sort of gimmicky feature, but a need to, as they see it, we could hope for a sort of significant market share over time in that industry. No promises, of course, but I think doable. Royalty-wise, typically, historically, at least anything between 1% and 5%, depending on the magnitude of the implemented technology. So it's difficult to say. It depends on every negotiation, on every segment, on every panel. But I think combining those I think you can even see that even with a one-digit smaller market size, combined with a relatively conservative royalty percentage here, we come to very large numbers. So one thing we can do is we can look at one current player, and they are, of course, several years ahead of us in lifetime, but Universal Display Corporation created a lot of IP and chemicals within OLED substrates, so active license player within OLED displays. And if you see the blue line, that's their royalty income being added over time as more clients come in, more segments adapt their displays, and the orange line indicating their other revenue being add-on fees or initiation fees and chemicals as well and stuff. So those are huge numbers, $250 million US in royalty alone, $350 million US in other income. They are sort of a big brother to look at. That's how we look at them. So I'm not saying we're going to be there tomorrow, but I'm just saying that this is a market which is huge in terms of scalability, and the license model will allow us to scale rather quickly in terms of we don't have to provide production and logistics facilities. So we're excited about the coming period and hope that this at least gave you sort of a top level overview of Realfiction and what we have coming.
Perfect. Should we jump to the question, Claes?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, there's of course a lot of interest on the timeline of the deals. There's a question here: can you catch one in Q1? And there's of course also some wish for you to kind of give us an indication on how many deals you could sign in 24, So I don't know whether you want to guide on it, but at least there's a lot of questions regarding this. Some of the timeline, when can we expect it, Q1, Q2, and maybe a little bit about with how many deals should we be looking out for you? Because I guess that's the part an investor will hold out or look out for this year by you.
Well, certainly we are looking to sign license agreements in 2024. The specific timing and the specific number of agreements that we may enter into, we can't guide on that, of course. So anytime in 2024, we are looking to sign license agreements. So that is something to look out for from us.
Perfect. what have customers been focusing on the CSS? I guess you got a lot of feedback there. Anything special that they have been waiting for? Why haven't they haven't been They have been waiting for someone. And is there something special they focused on? That you would single out. So maybe something that it now looks that maybe this will close the deals for you, if I may say it like that.
Yeah, so certainly I will mention dual view again for automotive because it's just such a perfect match. It has been done before, that's important to know, and there are other approaches, but always sacrificing on quality, and they don't want that in the industry. They want, nicely looking screens. So that's just a huge technology need from their side, and that was just a confirmation. We've been saying this, we've been seeing it, but they were just now standing there saying, we are looking for this, how do we proceed? So that's really, but also of course within 3D, as I said, they're struggling enabling multi-use environment without sacrificing quality, and by enabling also a technology that will show people individual angles. That's really the game changer there.
And if I may ask, I know it's hard for you to guide on certain deals. You said you met with 38 people. Can you tell us how many who booked a follow-up meeting, or is that also to ask too much of you to give off?
We've only been home a couple of days, so the specific number I can say more than 5. Let's leave it at that already. So a lot of action going on at the moment, and we're just excited. Want to get started.
Then there's any comment on Amtran is hiring in their automotive, focusing on the automotive industry. Any comments on your partner on that, or how that may affect you?
Well, I don't think we should speculate on Amtran's hiring processes, but of course we are aware that they are hiring in the automotive sector and for display specialists there. And then of course we are so happy to see that because that provides us, you can say, means of manufacturing potentially in the near future at some point.
If needed, because again, licensing model does not tie into one manufacturer specifically. So any manufacturer will be able to include our technology.
And there's a question, will you do other trade shows? I know CES in Las Vegas is the big ones, but will there be other showcasing of your technology in the near future, to the industry and such?
Well, we don't have anything planned at this point, but of course we're always looking out for the right places to be. But currently we are home from Vegas with a lot of good leads, and we want to focus on them for in the near term. But of course, we are open to stay agile.
Then there's some questions regarding your competition. It's mentioned that you also mentioned that you saw some of releasing new auto displays there. Or Continental has a privacy display. LG, I also think was mentioned in an article in the Swedish newspapers on the CES. They would showcase something. Can you kind of say what you saw over there by them, and how you might, your pros and cons versus your technology?
Sure. So we saw them, and again, as I said, the idea is the need is entertainment. They want entertainment. People want entertainment possibilities in the car, not only for the back seat, but also for the front seat passenger. But you cannot have big entertainment going on the central screen because you distract the driver. And previous technologies degraded quality when they tried to implement dual view. So now what they're doing momentarily is they're adding front seat passenger dedicated entertainment screens. And this is the SPM, or switchable privacy mode screen, which can switch between a normal 2D that shines the same image in all directions in all cars, so the driver can see it if they're charging or whatever. And then it can switch the direction, but only one image, so that only the passenger can see the image, and the driver will then just see a black screen. But you'll have an extra screen, you'll have black screen, a black hole in sort of the panel. So it's not the ideal solution, and that's why, as I said, the engineers are looking for dual view implementation without sacrificing quality.
And that you didn't see from anybody or indications
No.
from anybody at this year's then.
No,
and maybe for new viewers, and I think the video showed it, but I can also explain it because I have been experienced it by you. You see, if you're sitting with the steering the car, you can see the GPS on the same screen. You can see nothing else but the GPS steering the car, and on the passenger seat, you can watch and see a movie on the same screen. So just to help people who maybe haven't met you so often. So and it's about the angles there.
And maybe
Perfect.
just to add a point that might be questioned afterwards. Yes, we can add touch as well. And yes, we also included in our IP some thoughts about different users touching and controlling the same screen. So that's taken care of as well.
Because that was actually the next question.
Sorry. Sorry.
Technology. Yeah, no, but it's perfect. So there's no, with all the, so can TPT used in combination with touchscreen technology? That you are confirming that?
Yes.
Perfect. There's a look around free floating holograms. There are some questions on, compared to your old products and how much of this is integrated in your new one. The look around, if you can explain that, and also floating holograms, will that also be able?
So the look around is the term to explain when multiple people see a live rendered 3D image. Then every person, Torben, will be seeing the 3D perspective from his point of view. I will be seeing my own personal point of view in the 3D scene. And because it's live rendered, we can therefore look around the objects, the three-dimensional objects, and see new facets, if you will, of the 3D objects. So that's the term look around, and that needs the multiple user capability, but it also needs the ability to show individual three-dimensional images. Of course, you need to track the position of eyes, and we do that already. We do that already on multiple persons as well. So going for holographic image, so what is holographic? Well, traditionally it is creating a three-dimensional image that changes once you change your perspective. A true hologram is laser-based and it's a still image. We know that. So what we do, we call it holographic-like experience because it basically is the same experience, but now in living images. And yes, we can create objects coming out of the screen and being in a very particular distance out of the screen, because you will be able to see from different sides that it is actually there. It is, of course, always limited to you looking towards the display. So we cannot show something that you are looking, in a total different direction. Your eyes have to be focused towards the displays, but then we can show stuff hanging out there in front of it.
And then there's a question around patents. Anything waiting before signing any deals? You are selling your IP. So is there something on the patent side, the pending side, that you want to have closed before you're signing deals? So a question here on that.
No, we have. We're waiting for the last patent approvals. So far, it has been going at a good pace. And we're waiting for some more approvals this year. I think we have 3 approvals so far.
And there's nothing stopping you from signing any, licensing deals. That's the question. You want to be better protected before you sign a license deal. So the question is here: is that something that could stop you?
We're not waiting. There's nothing preventing us from moving on. Now we have all the exclusive supporting technology rights that we needed or wanted. We have all the original IP either pending in a good state or granted, so there's nothing waiting. No. But IP is important, as you said, especially for a license model. So of course, it is natural that over time we will be adding more, but that's just an ongoing thing, as it is for Universal Display and others within the license industry. Natural thing, but nothing stopping us. No.
And perfect. And then just to clarify it, I think I understood you, but in such a model, you are going to be built by some of the biggest screen producers. And if I understood you correctly, they have a large factories, they have large extremely large production facilities. There is nothing stopping them, as they don't need to develop something new on their production line to integrate your technology. Was that correctly understood? You said.
Correct. They do not have to develop anything new. They have, of course, to adapt a production line to a new technology, and they do that all the time. It's important to understand that the TV and panel industry is made up of many different technologies, and many of those technologies are licensed. So it is really a technology stack of different technologies, right? You can, on some segments, you add touch, on others you add smart features and streaming, and all those technologies have been implemented over time. So there is an adaptation to do in the production, but nothing that is not doable within current production lines. Exactly.
Perfect. And then any talks about in the total addressable market or your market, you didn't show anything about gaming or medical. Can you share your thoughts? Number one, maybe why they weren't on your numbers of screens before, and the potential and the possibility is your technology needs to be does it need to be developed more? Is something holding you back from going after those markets right now?
No, so it's basically the same technology. Our directional pixel technology will overcome the needs in all the segments, including the medical and the gaming as well. I didn't mention gaming specifically, although we have some numbers here, more than 20 million sold last year of gaming monitors specifically. There's nothing specific there. You could say gaming in a single user environment. If you just have a monitor in your room and sit there, one person playing game, there are solutions now in the market or being implemented now in the market that allows for single user gaming. And that's because gaming is a big segment that is driving content-wise, of course, also a wish to implement 3D, but also because it's a segment where you can implement a single user technology. But it doesn't mean that there's not a need for a multi-user. There are plenty of needs for multi-users. And there's nothing stopping us. No.
Perfect. And on the medical side, is that the same? The technology is developed. It is ready also for that.
Yes. And in medical, maybe fair to say that the big industry in medical 3D displays right now is surgical, as I mentioned. And they need to see the same 3D image, all of them, but they need to be able to see multiple users, and therefore they cannot use the current singular user displays. So they are forced to still wear those glasses, and they cannot take them off while operation because of clean room and all that. So they are forced to stand there several hours sweating with those bloody goggles on, and they really want to get rid of it. And of course, medical may be size-wise, now we don't have numbers currently for medical, it may be size-wise a lot smaller, of course, but it is also a high margin market. So it's a market where each product costs a lot more. Of course, it also has to be enclosed in a different way, but the display is the same. The display technology is the same. So once a panel manufacturer, for example, implements our technology, they can then source those panels into all the different segments, being TVs, being gaming, being medical, being professional categories for remote collaboration, for presentation use in showrooms and boardrooms and so forth.
Perfect. Let's get to some of the financial questions. I know that's what we investors always want to hear a lot about. So let's get into that category. There's a question on will you give us some sort of guidance on 24 on the financial result, and also maybe talk a little bit about whether you're thinking on, now you are at this commercialization phase, to give any long-term financial goals at the current stage.
Well, you can say in 24, our ambition is really to sign agreements, and for those agreements to start the collaboration with display producers. We don't want to give at this point any guidance on results, as we do not have any specific knowledge at this point. We do have some ambitions and some goals, of course, internally, but it's not something we want to guide on.
We also don't want to disclose at this point, being in negotiation. So
yeah, and a little bit about long-term financial goals. Any thinking about that, or would you like to see some license deal being panned out to give you a better view on how the long-term business might develop?
Well, I think the slide we have in front of us with the addressable market basically shows that it's a huge market we're looking to enter, or that we are entering, and the slide with Universal Display Corporation shows how they have scaled up their business to create millions of dollars in revenues from royalties. And of course, it is our ambition to copy them, you can say. But we have guided previously and said that we say this market is $100 million revenue market, and we certainly see that using the addressable market slide numbers, and even with a fairly small market share, and with the royalty percentages mentioned there, 1 to 5%, we will be able to achieve $100 million in recurring annual revenues from our business going forward. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow or into 2024, but it's something that you can guide. Well, you can look towards us in a few years and say, well, did they manage to do this? And at least it's our ambition.
It's also the ambition to surpass it, right? Because there's
certainly
nothing preventing us to go beyond that time.
You say from a mathematical point of view, you can do the numbers and you can come to numbers that are quite high, and certainly we look to do that.
So I think you gave us a lot here, because you gave us the number of screens, but here you put a figure on it in value, and you said the 100 million you have been talking about US dollar. That's a low market share with a normal fee structure on a license fee that's seen normally in the business, like with the OLED technology and other technologies that is implemented. Is that how we should understand the addressable market in value? And then secondly, does that include medical and which areas does this one include?
That was on the basis of a potential smaller market share in the 65 plus inch segment for TVs, the gaming industry, and the automotive sector. So those three would be included in the number that I provided before, and you could do the math on all sorts of other industries and segments and come to higher conclusions. Or different conclusions.
And if we look again, just we know we're not Universal Display, so
no.
and they are again a few years ahead of us in lifetime, but their technology is within OLED displays, and only OLED displays, and they're big in OLED for sure, but they are doing multiple $1 million revenue on OLEDs, which then accounts for maybe even 10% of the overall display market. And the curve there that they have is a stacking curve where they can add new users, new customers, and enter new segments over time. And because they have the royalty base as well, the royalty income will then just exponentially grow, because this is also an industry where they do invest quite a lot of money in implementing a new sort of core technology. So it's not just there for the next model and then out again. It's there for a lot of years to come. So once you're in for a ride.
Perfect. And then there's a question about your current business. I know we will probably not. You've been pretty firm about you don't want to guide, but there's a lot of talk about what is the potential, and I think also bear and bull cases, and base cases, but you have given us some kind of indication on maybe how we should calculate it ourselves by saying this is low single digit normal fee structure and which areas with the numbers of TVs here. So I guess you don't want to give us a bull, bear, and base case right now.
Yeah, a bit too soon.
Yeah, perfect. Then there's your current mass business, your current holographic business that that's what we are seeing the revenue on. Any thoughts about that? Will you continue that? Will you sell it? Where will focus be? It's always important if you are going to commercialization that you have full focus on it. So can you continue with the current business as a support and maybe develop your mindset? But a little bit about the current business, how you're thinking about that.
Well, it's pleasing to see that our DreamOx and DeepFrame and Magic as a Service sales are continuing to provide some cash flow funding and support of our investments into what is the future of the company, you can say. There are still very good use cases for our technology, and they will continue to be there even in the future. Mixed reality is somehow different from the flat screen television market, so it does cover other areas of what event participants going to showcase products, or people in the retail environment needing. So it's something that has a future still. It's not a huge market. It's difficult to scale. Totally different from what we're looking into with our directional pixel technology. But we are very happy with the cash flow coming from there that we can invest into the future, and we have no plans to discontinue that.
Perfect. And then there was a question, with such a technology, you have been in the US showing it off. It's in Asia, many of the TV screen producers. It's always hard to explain when you are on the forefront of some technology development. So I was thinking about listing somewhere else in the near future to maybe reach a bigger investor base, maybe an investor base that is more knowledgeable of these license model technologies within this. So there's some questions around that.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, we have been very satisfied and pleased with the listing on NASDAQ in Sweden, and we have some very loyal investors, and we have about 3,200 investors, and we are quite pleased with the communication we have with them, with the level of funding that we have received throughout the years. Of course, as we transform into a more global company in the future, it might be that we need to search other places for what we need at that point. However, we do not have any current plans to change our listing. And we're not looking into changing our listing at this point.
Then there's a question, very simple, iPad, iPhone technology, the very huge number of devices. Why is that not mentioned here? Any thinking, any comments on that?
Mainly because our core new features are multi-user capabilities without sacrificing image, and there are current players in the tablet market, have also been in the phone market, which are typically single-user products. So it's not our first focus. There's nothing preventing us from doing it in the future. So we'll see, but it's not in that space that our core features are highly in demand currently.
Perfect. Then there's a question there. Any other companies in your field have been bought by bigger companies for the IP? What is your thought on being bought? Is there a lot of touching? If you have IP, you actually sometimes get notified when someone is nearing that IP and really being brushed off by it, right? That's somehow how you sometimes really can value your IP, is that many people are being touching upon it and can't go on because they are blocked by your IP. So any thoughts about that on bigger companies looking at you, looking at technology, and maybe needing this for them to get on?
Well, just answering maybe in two steps. First step is people touching on the IP. That's true. New ideas always spur new inspiration, but also and desire maybe to try and follow or copy. This is a volume technology space with very few and extremely large players, and any investment going into a panel manufacturing has to be a product that's available worldwide. Otherwise, the investment does not really match the return. Therefore, you will not maybe see us following IP in every single country in the world, because we don't need to. We need to have the core markets covered. And by doing that, we really also prevent people from directly copying our technology, because there are such huge players and investments behind it. We know they're battling each other, right, for any given sort of cornerstone in IP, but small players do not even dare touch on those technologies once they're being implemented. So, and that leads me to the second step. Of course, these giants might consider purchasing and being a public company. The rules are as they are, so anyone can sort of come up with a bidding, and then it's basically down to the feeling amongst us all as investors, whether we believe in the long-term license model or we want to jump an offer. So we cannot, of course, decide on that. We can guide at any given time whether we think it's a good offer or not, or whether we think it's a good time or opportunity or whatever. But that's all.
Our time is running out, and questions are running in. It's wonderful to see such a big interest for our company. It is a little bit unnormal. So I think you should nod to that. Unfortunately, we can't catch everything. I hope we can catch some more on some other events. But the final question: investments to do this. Do you need to hire more people? Do you need to make bigger investments in the near future to deliver on everything of this? So a little bit about the cost side and the investment side needed to deliver on this.
We don't need to hire or invest more to start the agreements, but it would be a natural element of signing the deals that we would then, going forward, hire more people. We're not, again, building a factory, but we will then be strengthening our expertise and ability to keep innovating within that space, because that's also how you maintain your relevance, like universal display, for example.
So perfect. I think unfortunately the time has run out. A lot of questions are still out there. Let's hope we can catch to answer some of them on some other events. But thank you, Torben and Claes, for taking us through your company. Kind of a brush up for some of the news for new investors. Maybe a look into your company and what you're doing. I know it's hard always to feed the old investors and new investors, but we tried on this event. So thank you very much for taking us through this.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.